I realize that you can't simply say, start putting in your time slips, I'm gonna start giving you overtime for every single thing that you go do, and every time you go out on a training mission, you know, go 10-8, put in your OT slip, we'll give you some money for that. I realize that can't happen. But what we can do is you can probably sit down and you go, listen, what can we do? As I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of flex time. I understand it from a management position, but I'm not a fan of it. What's wrong with comp time at a one-to-one basis? I mean, what I'm getting at is there's options here. Other things we can look at to compensate you guys when you're going out and doing something that would be a benefit to you, give you guys a little reward, and not just solely you investing all of your time, your energy, and your money to give something back to the community. I mean, I think there should be a little bit more to that. I think we can look at things together to figure out what ways we can come up with to compensate you guys that's fair. And again, we have to be fair to the taxpayer, we have to be fair to the budget, because if it's not in the budget, we got to come up with some interesting ways to work this out. But I think it can be done. And I don't think just saying, no, I can't pay you, and thanks a lot for donating your time to the community, I don't think that's the right answer, because again, you're only going to do that for so long before you're just going to say the hell with it. You're going to pitch it. And then of course now we're at a loss, because now all that training and expertise and equipment is now gone. We need to reward it along the way the best that we possibly can, and I know that if we work together we can come up with a solution to that, that at least in the meantime will be something that's better than nothing.
Great question. I'll be brief in my answer. I'm a firm believer in deputies being involved in other public safety realms other than strictly law enforcement. I would not only encourage it, I would not only support it, I would encourage it. So if somebody wants to be in a dive team, somebody wants to be in a mountain rescue team, somebody has an interest in the public safety realm, I would never discourage that. I've already said that I don't believe in flex time in principle. I think if you do something that is related to your job, that you should get time and a half. I don't share the same philosophy that Mike does on comp time. While I understand that at the end of someone's career, once they hit their cap, it can start turning into a lot of money, and we've had people in that position over the years, I think that can be dealt with on an individual case-by-case basis. That I can say, hey Alan, you know what, buddy, you're at your cap, can you take a little bit of time off for me? You know, I'm paying you all this comp time, and I think those issues can be worked around. I can't pay a one-to-one comp time, that's like against the law. So, that being said, I think there are ways around that, but I would very much encourage extracurricular involvement in public safety programs.
Thanks, guys. Anybody else?
I'll make this quick, so I'm tired too. A lot has been talked tonight about, you know, consistency equals morale equals performance. And I know we already touched on evaluations, which are absolutely important. What are we going to do to make the evaluation process more consistent? Because I can speak for myself and say I haven't received an evaluation in 4 years. And I know that there's other people in this room the same. If you want your employees to improve, I think it needs to be a more consistent process. And who's going to be held accountable if that is not done?
Sure, good question, Ray. I've been involved in a lot of evaluation tools and models over the years, and have been involved in not just law enforcement, but at the hospital as well. And it seems like anywhere I've worked, anywhere I've been the boss, anywhere I've had an evaluation, they seem to change every year or two. So there's not a perfect one out there. Every evaluation model and every evaluation tool out there, regardless of how objective you try and have it become, winds up being pretty subjective. It's just the nature of the beast. It depends upon how well the guy doing your evaluation likes you overall as to what kind of evaluation you're going to get. That's the hard fact, and unfortunately that's the case. However, I think it is important that people have that formalized interaction with their immediate supervisor on a regular basis. And that to me is what an evaluation provides, is a chance for me as your boss to sit down with you and say, hey, Ray, you know, I know we should talk about this more often, but we really haven't. Here's our chance. And sit down and do that more on a cooperative basis rather than a formalized, here's the eval I wrote on you, read it and sign it. So peer evaluations have been tried in a lot of organizations. They turn into popularity contests. I guess that's my feeling on it. They need to be done. However, you need to realize that there are limitations, and truly for me it's more of a formalized process for you to sit down with your immediate supervisor and just chat about stuff that you don't normally do on a day-to-day basis.
Now, when it comes to evaluations, I don't think there is a perfect anchor formula, whatever, out there, because you've got that human element. I got to tell you, Ray, I'm very surprised to hear that you haven't been evaluated in 4 years. And I'm going to check your file tomorrow because I can't imagine that happened. I'm not calling you a liar, but if that's the case, that's not right. That's not right at all. And if that's the case, I'll personally apologize to you, because a true evaluation tells strengths and weaknesses, and they're important. I support them. And like I say, if you haven't been evaluated in 4 years, I will apologize to you tomorrow.
You know, that obviously, as stated, a written evaluation is subjective off of the person who's in the grading. With the ADOR program that we have, that is better than what we had before. It's still not perfect by a long stretch. I think what's most important is if your supervisor can sit down with you personally and say, here's what you're doing great, here's what you're doing fantastic, these are your strengths, and hey, here's some things that we need to start working on. You know, and as everyone knows, I'm a rather long-winded person, so, you know, I think you're going to get a lot more information by a verbal conversation with somebody during the majority of an evaluation process. And most things can be fixed that way. You know, if you do something that's wrong, that's not a gross violation of anything as far as policy and procedure manual is concerned, you know, you didn't cross a T, it's a lot easier for me to sit down and say, hey, Ray, here's a report right here, you need to fix this, you need to pay better attention to this in the future. Instead of 4 or 5 months, 6 months down the road, you get an evaluation that shows that on CR you didn't cross your T, and you're going, okay, great. And again, it's back to sign this, turn it in, see you later, have a nice day. And what have you really learned about that other than somebody was keeping a little black book on you 6 months ago? And that isn't going to make you feel very good. I think if you can keep that one-on-one conversation, that communication going between you and your supervisors, and again, that goes all the way up the food chain. I think if you can do that, you know, that's a lot more important than a paper evaluation. I think a paper evaluation is important. It's something we need to have. I know it's been discussed in our sergeants meetings as to how often we should be doing that. And that's something that obviously needs to be improved upon. But again, communication, verbal, I think is most important. And then let's worry about the paper second.
Any other taker? Thanks again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you.